Thank you very much, President Dickey, and to the Board of Trustees and faculty, and to the family members, and to that incredible class of 2012. Give yourselves a hand, young people. President Dickey, I am especially honored to be here. First of all, graduates, as a child of color growing up in Birmingham in the 50s and 60s, I could never have imagined standing in this church, being honored by Bank Street, representing as president of a predominantly white university with students from 150 countries. It was not even a possibility. And I stand here today because of America. It is a great country. It is a great country. I have to say I'm particularly honored, and was honored when President Dickey called, because I know a lot about Bank Street for many reasons. My wife went to grad school in early childhood, and as a young husband, I was learning about Bank Street and Head Start. I was very proud, and years later, interestingly enough, one of your trustees, Felice Freeman, who was from Baltimore at the time, people learned she was a Bank Street graduate and got over to our campus to teach teachers because they respected the Bank Street way. There's something special about theory and practice informing each other, about engaging students and helping every child to be his or her best, about having thinking and emotions together. And so you are well prepared. And when you mention that you are a graduate of Bank Street, people will appreciate it. They will say, here's a special teacher, a special educator. I challenge you today, graduates, to know your stories. My mother grew up in a little town in rural Alabama. I grew up in the big city, Birmingham, but she grew up in Wetumpka, and my dad grew up in below Selma, and they both became teachers. But my mama told a story that always embarrassed me until I became older and she was no longer here. She said that beginning at age 12, she was required to work as a maid in a home, wealthy home. And the woman in the home was very kind to her, and the home had a library at a time when there was no library for people of color. And the woman encouraged her to read. And mother said the more she read, the better a reader she became. And the more proficient a reader she became, the more she enjoyed the experience. And so her girlfriends became very upset, because they would say, Maggie, come on outside and play. And she'd say, no, I want to stay in and read the book. They could not understand why she'd rather read than play. And it was at that point she knew exactly what she wanted to do for the rest of her life, because she noticed that her girlfriends were reading with great pain and didn't read much because it was so difficult. She knew she wanted to do the work more noble than any other, to become a teacher. And for over 40-some years, she taught English because she valued the power of language. And years later, she became a math teacher, and I was her guinea pig. She used me to figure out how to get somebody liking math and reading, and somehow today I get goosebumps doing math. And so I salute my mama for teaching me how to learn and to love to learn. Well, I come from a university that has focused on teaching and learning in the midst of research, and we are trying different approaches to helping young people to succeed in biochemistry or in literature. And what we have found is that trying different approaches, from online learning and hybrid learning and collaboration and group study, can make all the difference in the world. And so we now lead the country in sending certain groups on to PhDs in science. The message for you today is that I want you to know your story, because your story will inspire you. At the end of my mother's life, when she knew she was about to die, I asked her what was important, and she said, relationships. She said she could tell I was about to cry, and she said, my relationship with my God, hold on to your faith, something she told me all my life. She said, my relationship with my husband, she'd forgotten Daddy had died. She said, my relationship with my son. She actually looked at me and said, he's a wonderful person. I'd forgotten she had dementia. At first, I thought she was telling me she had a second son. I was not too happy about that. Turns out she was talking about me. But then she gave me a gift that I'll leave you with. She then said, but you know, I now understand, teachers touch eternity through their students. Teachers touch eternity through their students. Whatever I had to give, my sense of right and wrong, my lust for learning, my belief in them, I gave it to them, and I will live through them. Know your stories, and remember, education transforms lives. Congratulations to the class of 2012.